Okay, this webinar is going to present technical assistance opportunities for energy communities, as well as good practices on how energy communities can help improve quality of life and support the cities in the path towards climate neutrality. We are firstly going to listen to a presentation on the Covenant of Mayors Europe and its technical assistance program for energy communities by Mariangela Luceri. Then technical assistance opportunities from the Energy Communities Repository by Elodie Bossio, and technical assistance opportunities for rural energy communities from the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub, presented by Eugenia Bonifaz. We will then answer some of the questions that may arise from this first section of the webinar, to then move on to the presentation of good practices. Firstly, by Søren Hermansen, who will talk about the mobilization of local communities for the long-term vision, and then by Ivana Mlinarik on how to integrate energy communities in the city planning, after whom there will be another round of questions. Thank you very much. We now move to the first presentation on the Covenant of Mayors Europe and Technical Assistance Program for Energy Communities by Mariangela Luceri. She coordinates the help desk of the Covenant of Mayors Europe and manages the involvement of Covenant coordinators and supporters in the initiative. She is also involved in supporting activities to the Covenant community, and she manages the Expert Mission program for coordinators. Thank you, Mariangela. You can now take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. So about the Covenant of Mayors, as you may know, the Covenant is the world-leading initiative addressed to local and regional authorities and entities on climate and energy. Last year, we launched our 2050 visions with the aim to implement a more inclusive and more ambitious chapter with renewed commitments from the mayors for paving the way for a fairer and climate neutral Europe, and characterized by the ambition to decarbonize our territories and stay below a global temperature of 1.5 degrees. Quickly, a few flashback about the community. The community was launched in 2008 in the European Union member states only, and we asked the municipalities that we call signatories to reduce their CO2 emissions by the 20% by 2020. Then in 2014, we were merged with the former Mayors Adapt initiative, and so we started including adaptation among our priorities. In 2015, we launched our 2030 vision. So we asked signatories to reduce their CO2 emissions by the 40% by 2030. The initiative had such a huge uptake that the European Commission and other financing institutions at global level decided to launch it in all the continents. So the Global Covenant of Mayors was created that counts nowadays 10 regional secretariats all over the world, of course, including the Covenant of Mayors Europe. And as I mentioned before, last year on April, we launched our 2050 vision. And now the municipalities are asked to commit to reduce their greenhouse gases emissions, to improve their resilience to climate change, tackle energy poverty, and also ensure a just transition for their territories. What's this new chapter about? As I mentioned, the final aim is to reach climate neutrality by 2050. This is what municipality commit to. For the Covenant of Mayors, we define climate neutrality as a state in which human activity result in no net effect on the climate system. Both the Covenant Europe Office and the European Commission are committed to ensure a just transition for all the members in all member states, with the core principle of leaving no one behind. And for these reasons, we have implemented a differentiated approach, meaning that it's up to the municipality to decide what's its intermediate milestone. So what are the midterm targets towards climate neutrality? What we ask is that such targets shall be consistent with European objectives and at least as ambitious as the national target. Another focus of this new vision is on local climate pact, so fostering their development and therefore the involvement of the local communities into the energy planning and energy implementation of energy actions. Quickly, a few numbers about the community. We count nowadays more than 11,000 signatories, more than 10,000 coming from the European Union member states. Municipalities are supported by what we call coordinators and supporters. Coordinators are ministries, regions, and provinces that join the community to provide technical and financial support to the municipalities, while supporters are non-profit organizations, energy agencies, associations of local authorities, and so on, that also join to provide technical support. The covenant focuses on 3 pillars: mitigation, adaptation, and energy poverty. The new visions also encourage municipalities to integrate just transition consideration as core cross-cutting principle in the climate plans. Furthermore, we ask municipalities to undertake transformational change, meaning to include in their planning all the sector of our societies, from the classic building and transport to civil protection, health, and so on. What are the steps that a municipality does within the community? First of all, when a municipality commit, it also commit to set targets, to assess baseline, and to draft an action plan within 2 years from the formal adhesion, and then to monitor every 2 years on the implementation of this action plan. We want to focus on the development and implementation of concrete actions on the ground. We want to foster, as I said, the engagement of the local community in the energy planning, but also we want to foster networking among municipalities. The registration is quite quick. We have a commitment document that is translated in all European Union official language, and that shall be approved and signed by the local council. Once this document is approved, the municipality can register through an online form. It's a basic online form where we ask, of course, for the data of the municipality, the contact person, and the midterm targets and long-term targets whenever available. The covenant tried to create a bridge between the different levels of governance and translate the European policies and targets into clear roadmaps that the municipalities can follow. The initiative is embedded in the climate and energy policies, of course, mainly the Green Deal and European Climate Pact, but at European level, also the Paris Agreement at international level. And all these policies are then translated into our priorities, so climate neutrality, circular economy, and so on. We also support the Repower EU. Together with the European Commission and the Committee of the Regions, last 19th of May, we launched the Cities Energy Saving Sprint. The campaign aims to support the community to reduce energy dependence from Russia through implementation of fast and low-cost measures, accelerate the storage of energy sources in view of the next winter, and prevent one-size-fits-all national measures that do not take into consideration the territorial differences. The campaign will be run until September 2022. The website is hosting already a number of measures and testimonies from municipalities joining the campaign, and so good practices on how they manage to reduce energy consumption in heating and cooling, lighting systems, public transport, and buildings. Basically, what we provide are just tips on how to increase energy savings. You are, of course, all invited to join the campaign. This is not only for cities. The main way to register is to submit the related expression of interest to the online form. We also have a toolkit available in all languages, and we will foster networking among the participants in the campaign. Quickly, a quick introduction on the support that the Covenant of Mayors Europe office provides to the community. First of all, we have a financing guide. You have a quick GIF on the screen. This is translated in all the European official languages, and it provides a quick overview of all the financing schemes available at European level for the members of the community. As you can see, it can be filtered by country, by type of activities you want to finance, and so on. We also provide peer learning opportunities, webinars, workshops, We develop a set of publications, guidelines, and case studies on our priorities. And of course, all information is available in our library. With regards to the peer learning program, the Covenant has recently launched an open call for technical assistance on community energy project. The call is open to all active signatories and to the municipalities that will conclude the registration by September 2022. The technical assistance program aims at supporting municipalities in better understanding the socio-economic benefits of citizens-oriented energy strategies, to increase the capacities and skills on participatory and democratic energy practices, to better understand the EU opportunities on financing energy community, and to support municipality in developing projects with local community and other energy-related stakeholders, and finally to support the transfer of good practices and example on energy democracy policies and strategies. The program is open to 10 municipalities with less than 50,000 inhabitants, so we're talking about small municipalities. These municipalities are invited to involve in the actions organizations of the civil society and other relevant stakeholders. The program will run through 3 online workshops, and the aim is to develop a cooperation plan between the municipality involved and its civil society organizations and stakeholders. And each municipality will receive technical support from experts. The activities will take place between September and January 2023. And if you are interested, you can contact Thibaut Marikin. You have the email on the screen. And that's it from my side. Thank you. And I also leave you the help desk contact if you want to reach out later on.
Thank you very much, Mariangela. Now moving on to the presentation on technical assistance opportunities from the Energy Communities Repository from Elodie Bossio. She is the lead of the technical assistance activities as part of the Energy Communities Repositories team. She has been working for more than 10 years in FEDEREN, the network of regional energy agencies in which she develops and manages EU projects supporting the energy transition in local and regional authorities. Please, Elodie Bossio, take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just check the time. Okay. So yes, today I will introduce you the activities of the Energy Communities Repository with a focus on the technical assistance part and activities. So this year, 2 new initiatives to support energy communities have been launched by DG Energy, so by the European Commission, the Energy Communities Repository that I will present, and the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub that the next presenter, Eugenia, will present. So this is the team. I'm moving fast because we will focus on the technical assistance activities, but I would like to present anyway the key activities of the repository and where we would expect people to contribute and would expect input from all interested stakeholders. So we have 4 main activities: data collection and analysis, with the aim of developing really the energy communities database, the European energy communities database, and analyze all the legal frameworks in the EU, provide technical assistance to energy communities, assess the impact of energy communities in the EU, and collect best practices, tools, and innovative practices, let's say. So we will launch this toolbox by the end of July. So all these slides, the next slides, you will see, let's say, like call for actions. So if you have any tools or if you're involved in a project that is developing innovative tools and material, the aim of the repository's website is to collect this information and to share it at EU level. Same for best practices examples. That if you are aware of any best practice, please share it with the repository. We will also publish this impact assessment end of September, but if you already know of existing methodologies or existing impact assessment, please share. And the database of energy community that aims to be quite, I would not say exhaustive because this is an ongoing process, obviously, but we're trying to have as many energy community registers as possible. So if you, within your projects or within your country, you have access to existing database, would be very happy to share with you, to exchange with you. So I will focus today on the objective of the technical assistance. The aim is to develop a comprehensive capacity building and technical assistance strategy to provide support to at least 150 communities in the EU. When we're talking about communities in the repository, you don't need to be already established as a legal entity. It can be also an informal community of actors that are trying to become an energy community. This initiative that has been launched in January is still, let's say, like a pilot phase, starting initiative. So we've decided to focus for technical assistance on the countries that you see on the map. It doesn't mean that the others are not eligible. It's just that applicants from these countries will have a couple of bonus points within their application. And you will hear as well the presentation from Eugenia afterwards, but the Commission also decided to fund a special initiative for rural communities that Eugenia will present. So we are basing this definition on a Eurostat's definition, the degree of urbanization that classify each area into cities, towns, and suburbs, and rural areas. So I mean, you can check in an Excel file where your activities are located, and you can then decide if you're more a part of a urban area or rural area. So the Energy Communities Repository focus on urban areas, so meaning cities, towns, and suburbs. We are using to classify, let's say, communities and to see what are the development stages. We use a methodology that combines insight from various projects. So we classify communities into 3 development stages: inspiration, development, and operation, and that helps target the technical assistance activities to these development stages. So the concept of technical assistance under the Energy Communities Repository is that we have 3 types of activities. We have 5 areas of support, but we have only 1 single application form. We try as much as possible to target, the support to the applicant's needs. So that's why I presented these development stages. And it's open EU-wide, but we focus countries in which more activities would be available. So when I said like 3 types of activities, we will have national capacity building workshops that will be custom built for selected beneficiaries in national language conducted by experts at national level. We'll offer direct technical assistance, so it's more or less 7 days worth of expert support for selected beneficiaries, and we'll offer as well online twinning for 20 to 40 communities. The support areas, let's say like the offer of technical assistance can be on legal issues, how to set up the legal structure, and how to manage the administration of the community, how to develop. We have a support area, Second one is on governance, how to develop a vision, how to map your stakeholders, develop an engagement plan. And a third area is the promotion and the community development, like how to develop a communication plan, how to organize public events, organize info session, get public support, recruit members. Then obviously financial supports, like how to develop an investment campaign, how to draw a business plan. Maybe you want some advice, or you want your business plan or financing concept to be reviewed, assessing risk, and more technical issues. So you can need help carrying out energy audits, or outlining feasibility studies for your renewable energy projects. You need help in project prospection, in licensing, etc., etc. So these are some of the areas, but obviously the applicant will also explain in details how. Sorry, I was cut. So you have, sorry. So we have an opportunity to explain in details your project. In practical terms, how to apply. So the application process is as follows. So we are in this phase now where we have like information webinars, like today. We had also one. The official launch was on the 21st of June, so you can find the recording on the Energy Communities Repository website. We will have national information session organized in the upcoming months. You will find application guidelines, application form, and we run obviously a help desk. To apply, you have an application form. You have one application form on EU survey, where there's a part on self-assessment of your energy communities. So what is your development stage? A part on description of your projects, and then a part where you can rank your support needs and explain in details what are your support needs. One important thing to mention is the only thing, I guess, that would require a bit more time, maybe, it's a letter of intent. So we would like applicants to download and make at least like 3 members of their energy community sign a letter of intent for the application. So you download it, you make it signed by at least 3 members of your community, scan it, and upload it as part of the application process. We will have 3 deadlines. So the application form will stay open until the 31st of December. But we'll have 3 deadlines, after which we carry out the evaluation and we start organizing some activities. So first deadline at the end of this summer, 31st of August, second, 31st of October, and last one, 31st of December 22. And then obviously after 4 to 6 weeks of each application deadline, we will assess, evaluate the applicants. We will do it together with the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub, so that we make sure that everyone receives the best suited support. And we also make sure that we don't fund or support the same applicants. So please apply only once, not to both initiatives. And DG Energy will also have a look at the evaluation and validate let's say, like the list of selected beneficiaries. So then we'll have like a session, we have like matching and scoping session with experts, and we'll sign a support agreement. This is a slide with the timeline. So as I said, like the application form will remain open until December, but as we will have like selection of beneficiaries in September, November, and January, some activities will be able to start as early as October, November this year. And this is my last slide. So the QR code is the application form, but you can also, obviously you will receive a slide. So you will be able to click on the link here to the application form. You have a webpage of the Energy Communities repository with all the information that I already shared, but you will obviously find news and the opportunity to register to the newsletter. First deadline is the 31st of August, and if you have any questions, you can write, you can use this email address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elodie. Now moving on to technical assistance opportunities for rural energy communities from Eugenia Bonifaci. She is an associate director at Ricardo Energy and Environment, and she is the project manager of the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub, an initiative of the European Commission, which aims to accelerate the development of sustainable energy community projects in all European rural areas. The main activities of the initiative are to identify best practices across the EU existing communities, provide technical assistance to selected beneficiaries, and develop networking opportunities for energy communities and local stakeholders. Please, Eugenia Bonifaci, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucia. Okay, so as mentioned, I'm working on the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub, which is this initiative from the European Commission running in parallel with the repository project that's been just presented by Elodie, which aims to accelerate the development of sustainable energy community projects in European rural areas. So we are concentrating on the rural areas and rural aspects of energy communities. So I will give you a little bit of an introduction of the main outputs and activities of this project, and then we'll concentrate a little bit more on the technical assistance. So the main activities will be identification of best practices, provision of technical assistance, and networking opportunities. So if you move to the next slide, is it me? Okay, sorry. Identification of best practices is one of the activities that we will perform. So here we will develop a database of energy communities together with the repository project, and we will develop 20 case studies of good example of best practices of communities in the rural areas, with the idea to share the knowledge and like narrow or short the learning curve across all countries. So we will, together with through interviews, surveys, and desk research, we will identify the key barriers and also develop these case studies to show how these key barriers have been tackled by different communities across Europe. The second main activities is the provision of technical assistance. So the next slide. I'm not sure if it's me controlling the slide or. Okay, provision of technical assistance. This is a similar activities that the repositories will deliver. We are delivering for rural communities in particular, and the main outputs of these activities will be the provision of up to 40 activities of technical assistance, and we are providing activities that are extensive support, concise support, or an extension of the support that's already been received by the community in case we realize that there is maybe something else or more time or more support is needed. I'll give you more information about the process and everything later. The final main activities that we will carry out throughout this project is the networking. So on the next slide, you will see the networking and knowledge sharing. What we do here is building up a network throughout all the actors and stakeholders who could be interesting and are interested in participating or creating a rural communities or funding in rural communities, or so disseminate findings and information. So what we do here to help a networking activity is throughout the website, where you will see the link later and you can join the network and the newsletter. We will send out newsletter. We will organize conferences. The next conference is in September, when we will launch the technical assistance. And then we will also develop some guidance material, documents and video for knowledge sharing. So here as well, we really look forward for communities that are out there who want to reach out to us because they may have something to share. They want to help other community to develop or to be set up. So if you want to reach out on these aspects, please let us know. We will be happy to have an interview with you and see whether we can help you to communicate more your findings and your achievement, and also maybe develop a best case studies on your community. So next slide, we will talk a little bit more about the technical assistance opportunities. So next slide. It shows what are the objectives of the technical assistance. So we want to help improving the development and implementation of projects in a variety of areas, depending on the need of each individual rural energy community. We want to inspire widespread socially inclusive energy transition efforts in rural areas. So as we mentioned, we are really focusing in rural areas, and we are going to give a one-to-one support. So we are not planning to do workshops or large support to multiple communities at the same time. Our support is really one-to-one. So next slide. There are different types of technical assistance that will be available when you will be able to apply. These are matching very closely in the one from the repository project. So the energy community repository and application process, and our application process has been developed to be very, very similar, so that there aren't a lot of differences, and the type of assistance that you can receive is kind of the same on both projects. So as we said, so some of the area will be investment and financial assistance, technology and systems related advice, legal, regulatory support, communication support, capacity development, and knowledge transfer support. So as mentioned earlier, the support can be extensive or concise, depending on what sort of support you need. And one rural energy community can request multiple technical assistance services within one application. So you don't need to apply multiple times, you just need to apply once. Next slide. So who can apply? So all the energy communities, as per definition of the European Union, which are located in rural areas. So it's been quite difficult to come up with a definition of rural areas that fits everyone. But what we went for is the GURBA classification, so the degree of urbanizations, which is available at each city or village level. It's developed by DG Agri or the European Commission. So we have decided to use this reference as definition of rural. In addition, we have also added an extra definition that if the citizen energy community is considering a biogas supply, or the project that the community is considering is a biogas related, then there will be automatically a rural community. So anything that's to do with biogas generation will fit under the rural definition. Then next slide. So what is the timing for us? Here is where we are a little bit different from the repository project. So we have launched the pilot phase now. So we are working with 3-4 communities to test the procedure, test the type of support and the application form and everything. And we are actively approaching the communities to do this piloting phase. But in early September, we will have a launch of the technical assistance open to all communities. This will be on our website. The application form will be available in all the 24 EU languages, and there will be a guidance note on how to apply as well. As for the repository, we will have 2 cutoff dates, one in October 2022 and one in December 2022. So this will be the closure of the application process. So then the actual delivery of the technical assistance will be between January 2023 and autumn 2023. It might be that we might be able to start a little bit earlier, but it all depends on when we receive and how many applications we receive. But this is the time frame that we are working towards. So next slide. So yes, as we said, the piloting phase is now started. We are testing the application material and the whole process. It will be running until October 2022. There are more information about all the process and the technical assistance process and procedure on our website, where you can also join the newsletter so that you will know more about when the application is going to start and will be open. It will be open early in September, the 3rd of September, but on the 12th of September, we have a launch event in Poland to present and actually launch the technical assistance application procedure, which will be both inside but also online, so it will be an hybrid event. There are information on the website, I think, or will be published really soon on the event, on when it's going to take place and where it's going to take place. So I suggest you to visit there, but also join the newsletter, because there will definitely be information about the new upcoming event on the newsletter. So final slide is just a thank you slide, I think. This is all I have. Again, hopefully you will receive this presentation, but if you want to take note of our website, is Rural Energy Community Hub with Ash, I think you call it, like the dash in between, Rural Energy Community Hub.ec.europa.eu. The email where you can contact us is ener-ruc-hub@ricardo.com, and the hashtag that we are using to communicate any information is the Rural Energy CAH, so Community Advisory Hub. So yeah, this is all the information that you need to reach out. Go on the website, learn more about the process, sign up to the network and the newsletter, and you will receive lots of more information, and reach out if you have questions. I hope the other things that Mai have mentioned and I haven't added in the presentation is that soon we will also open a call for experts. So all the technical assistance that we will deliver is going to be delivered together with the support of local experts. At the moment, we are doing this process, as I said, with 3 or 4 piloting cases where we have identified already technical experts that will support us throughout the delivery. But we are looking to increase our pool of experts. We already have some, but we want to increase it more on each single member state. So on the website, they will also be launching soon a call for expert, where anyone can apply, sending the CV and explaining what sort of support they can provide, what is their expertise and background, and we will reach out to them, and they will be we will sign up a small contract based on the type of technical assistance that will be required, if will be required, depending on the type of request that we receive from the communities. I hope this is clear, but if you have any question, please reach out.
Thank you very much, Eugenia. This is the end of the first section on technical assistance opportunities for energy communities. We now open a Q&A section in case there are any questions or doubts about the presentations we just listened to. Thank you, Mariangela.
So yes, thank you both, Eugenia and Elodie. I noticed earlier a question on the chat that was sent during Elodie's presentation. So from Lucia Varela, the local expert would be selected by the local governments?
So for the local experts, we already have a pre-selected list of local experts, but in the project description and in your needs, you can actually explain the need of support. And if you already have an expert in mind, I think this is something that we can accommodate, and yeah, this is something we can consider.
I shall admit now, I don't know if this email is referring to either
I think, yeah, it
or...
was, I think most of the questions were during my presentation, so
Okay, then
I'll carry on.
yeah.
How national specific is the technical assistance of the repository? As I said, like we have a list of country experts. So basically, it should be really targeted to the national framework. As you know, the legislation is different, sometimes also like different, sometimes even at a regional level. So that's why we cannot manage things at EU level. We need local experts. Who can apply for the technical assistance, energy communities and municipalities? No, basically any member, any eligible member of a renewable energy community or a citizen energy community can apply. As I mentioned earlier, we can also think of just citizen. You know, we're a citizen, you're thinking of developing, of setting up an energy community. You already have started, let's say, the meetings with potential members, people who would actually be then full member of your community. This is possible. The only, let's say, category that would be a bit trickier, let's say, are, for example, SMEs or large enterprises, because in some part of the definition, SMEs or companies can participate, but it depends on also like on the governance model of the energy community. So you will need to be very clear on what would be the role of the company in the energy community, for example, and you will need to be very clear on the definition, let's say, in your under your national framework. And then I read until FANIS, so then I didn't read the other, I haven't read yet the other questions. So for FANIS, island energy communities fall under rural energy communities category. So I checked the famous file. I can maybe share my screen 2 seconds. So this is the file we use, actually. It's if you look at, it's an Excel file that you find on the Eurostat website. You look for your municipality, and then you have this column called Degerba, and 1, 2 is considered urban, and 3 is considered rural. So basically for Greece, for example, for the Greek islands, most of North Aegean and South Aegean municipalities would be considered as rural municipalities. And obviously Crete would have municipalities that are like considered urban area. But you see here, for example, I've selected some of the North Aegean and South Aegean municipalities, and these ones that you see on my screen are Degerba 2, meaning they're urban. So if your energy community is located in this municipality, then it goes under the repository. So that's what we use. We had to find a mechanism that works at EU level, even though it's not what you would think is urban or rural.
Thank you, Leti. So I know I received some direct messages that were, however, not related to energy communities, or in any case to the presentation. So I asked the persons who wrote me to just send me an email at info@umeyors.eu, or in any case at the one that you will find in the slides that we will share on a follow-up email. We have a questions for Eugenia. So about the technical support for rural energy communities. The first point shown in the presentation was about financial support. It means that the advisory hub will support the community to find financial support.
Yes, so the financial support is more about learning how to finance a project, how to make the project economically viable and so on. We don't have finance to give to communities, so we can only provide support in terms of technical and expert support. But a matchmaking exercise between funding availables and in the country or a European level and the community is something that we can do. So yes, we will have to find the financial support. There is another question that is for me, which is on the experts, the open call for experts. So we are hoping to launch it quite soon. So I would say within August, by August, it should be on the website. So yes, it's gonna be soon.
If I may add on these questions, what kind of expert you're going to select? Like what kind of expertise?
Well, it's they are experts and expertise in line with the type of technical assistance that we are providing. So first of all, is in the knowledge that they have of the regulatory system in the country is very important. What we are looking for is mainly like expert that already sit within a community. I think is the best type of expertise that we will need, but maybe also legal experts, because there may be some cases that we will require rural communities that support more legal experts. So if there is anyone with legal expertise in the country, that might also be useful. So it's a wide range. As I said, this is just for us to create a roster of experts. We don't, it doesn't mean that if you might send your application, you will definitely support us and provide help. But it's to be part of the project and know that you are there. So any type of expertise that can be related to the type of technical assistance that we given, that I showed in the slide.
Thank you. And it can be both from individual and organizations. Or just individuals?
Individual will be best, mainly for an easy way to create a short contract in a very fast manner, but obviously also organization could apply.
Okay, thanks a lot. So we move back to the chat. I apologize for this deviation. So always for you, Eugenia, I believe. So why Portugal is the only West European country in the focus area?
No, this is for LOD. We don't have any member state focus. We are open to the whole EU countries, but the repository has a different approach.
Yeah, we are also open. The application, as I said, is open EU-wide, but bonus points for focus country. So the thing is, at the time of writing the application, but now maybe the framework has already evolved. So at the time writing the application for this initiative, the focus countries were selected because the transposition of the EU directives were not yet finalized. So it means as well that it has been difficult for communities in the countries to develop, basically. So that's why, for example, you have Portugal here. But you also have in Western Europe, you also have like Italy and Greece. While I see now that Italy has made a lot of progress, and I don't think they should be in the focus country anymore. But at the time, it was decided like this. So I think we're gonna. No, it's not. I think we're gonna let it like this. But this is a very fast evolving situation, and as you see as well today, there's also like a lot of interest from the European Commission to develop a community, to develop and support community energy power. So obviously you will sometimes we are a bit slow. I think I
believe then the next question is for the both of you. So EU Pacific Highlands are eligible?
Member states, yes.
They're part of the member state,
yeah. The only thing is, like, I think in this case we would, I guess, like carry out mostly online support unless we can find an expert that is based quiz based because I don't think we will have any, we don't have like that sort of budget for travel costs.
And Elodie, the next question is for you. So in addition to citizens, SMEs and public administration are eligible?
Yes.
That's perfect. Some cities are asking the process to constitute a rural energy community. Do you think we can use to case studies pilot to replicate the process since the beginning? So this is for Eugenia.
Yeah. Do you think we can? I need to talk with the colleagues that are leading on the technical assistance provision, but we can. So basically, the reason why we're doing this piloting is exactly to iron out some of these issues. So there might be extra guidance added, or yeah, we can. Yeah, we can try to support. I'm not sure what the question is. Actually, what sort of process to replicate the process since the beginning? They are asking the process.
Maybe Serena, you want to take the microphone and
okay.
clarify your question?
So how, if this is how a community is defined as rural or not, this is, yeah, sorry.
I don't know if you hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sergey. It's really, yes, it's because I'm following some cities from the south of Europe, Italy. So one of the most interesting sectors is that agriculture. So I think that the rural energy community can also be a nice option. And there are some cities that are starting the process to implement an energy community. So my question is regarding the differences between energy community and rural energy community, and if these pilots that you are studying can in some way be used to study the process of the constitution of the energy community since the beginning. For example, which kind of normative framework would help at European level, but also the form of institution of the energy community, if it's an association or cooperative, or if it's yeah, I think that the most common are associations and cooperatives. Which kind are of form of like constitution was used but by these pilots? I don't know if it's clear, my question, sorry.
Okay, so I'll try to answer, but maybe we can also have a discussion by email later on. But the communities that we are focusing on are communities that need to fulfill the definition of the European Commission directive. So, for example, cooperative might be eligible only if they are a cooperative that does fit the definition of the directive from the European Commission. Otherwise, they might not be eligible. So in terms of rural, the definition is from the DEGERBA that Elodie showed earlier. In terms of the process of what could be best for the rural community and so on, we will develop guidance document that are trying to identify best practices and example on what seems to work best in the rural areas. Well, of course, this is all very dependent on the framework, the policy framework and the situation that you have around. But I hope this kind of answered the question, but if it doesn't, then please reach out to the email and then we can explain a little bit more.
Perfect. So Eugenia, you have a last questions for you. So basically, what are the benefits of being an expert in your
so it will be a paid support. So if the experts fit the sort of expertise that we need to deliver technical assistance provision, this expertise will of course be paid. I mean, it's not going to be a free support, but we will set up. That's why I said individual will probably be preferable, because it's easier to set up like a 2-3 days supporting contract with an individual rather than with a organization. So yeah, what is the benefit? The benefit that we receive is economic benefit for sure, but also yeah, the possibility to reach out to more communities and be involved in the whole process and networking and so on.
Perfect. Thank you a lot to both. So Lucia, I give the floor back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you, for your questions. Now on to the second part of this webinar on energy communities. We are focusing on good practices, starting with Søren Hermansen from the Socio-Energy Academy, talking about the mobilizing of local communities for the long-term vision. Søren is the director of Socio-Energy Academy and the head of the Socio Renewable Energy Island project, which he has been working on for 10 years. His mission is to demonstrate that it is possible to create a society which is self-sufficient and 100% based on renewable energy. You can now take the floor, please.
So thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about good examples and how we are organizing society in general. I believe that some of the things that we have been working with during the last 25 years is interesting for more than just ourselves. I just need to ask if this is fine. Are we? Can you see my presentation? You good?
Yes, we can.
Good. So I'll start from here. We have discovered that a lot of what we do is about language. It's about how do we communicate the ambitions. If we leave it to the engineers, then sometimes we get a lot of technical details, and a lot of people, they just kind of lose the connection to it because they don't understand what it's all about, and they don't feel included in the process. So we have like this equation, which is commodities equals commons plus communities. So the commons is what we share. In communities in general, from old times, there's been a common, which is like access to water, to land, to grass for cattle and sheep, and to wind and solar and firewood. And communities administrating the commons must then be commodities. This is just kind of an abstract introduction, but I hope you understand the purpose of this. Human beings exist in language, conversation, stories, and narratives. And human beings invent their words with conversations and actions. We have been very focused. We have had a very strong focus on how do we engage people in the transition. So we tell the same story about the ambition, and we actually play some different roles in this story. And I think that is very important for the transition as well, that we understand our own role, where we are, where we're heading, and what the story is all about. And I think this is identifying a lot of local activities in many ways, and is different from the now market-oriented process where we see big developers, they come and establish very large wind and solar projects, and people feel more and more disconnected about it. And I think in many of you would have heard about this also, the so-called Nimby Effect and the resistance from people in the transition or towards the transition, because people don't understand what is my role in this. Why do they put wind turbines in front of my windows, and so on and so forth. And for this, we need to talk about what is my community and where are we? So for this, we need a compass, a center of action where we are focused on what we want to do and how we're going to navigate in that voyage towards a better future or a more sustainable future. So it's important to define who are we. The local community, who are we? And the local community, seen from my point of view, is a small island, but it could also be a part of a city. It could be a block. It could be kind of a province or a suburb to a city, where people can identify themselves as a kind of a common we, where we understand that this is who we are. So this is one definition of where and what is your here. So what can we do is the motivation, and what do we do is the action, and the change comes to what do we want to happen. And again, from the compass, what do we want is sometimes overruled by what are we offered. And the difference in this, what are we offered is from the market economy. We are offered services from developers, from utilities, from companies who are offering us green energy or solutions, and we can buy it and then become customers in their shop. Or We could also want to have a role and have a job or save some money or do things that is interesting for us also in the long run. So what do we want needs to be answered with a question more than an answer. So the question could be, does it solve local issues like, is there a good school for my kids? Is the environment good? Is the air clean? Is the food healthy? And all these sort of things. And could we then focus on the development as answers to these very important questions for most people? So I don't want to go into many details about what we did in the last 25 years, because in less than 10 years, we became 100% self-sufficient with energy on the island of Samsø. There's a little bit less than 4,000 people living there, and we produce all the electricity we need. 75% of all heating is from district heating based on local fuels like straw, wood chips, solar, and so on. And then we have a lot of efficiency measures in this also, and we have the highest number of electric vehicles in any municipality in Denmark, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of technical things here, but you can study that afterwards on the website, or if you look for Samsø, there's a lot of material talking about what we did here. But the thing is that this is more or less all locally financed and owned by people from the island who participated in this process and who were offered the possibility of buying shares in the transition, or be a member of the local district heating as a fully kind of accepted shareholder instead of just being a customer. And this kind of leads to the general acceptance of things that happen because it's ours, it belongs to us, and the surplus or the profit from this stays on the island and will be invested in new installations, new projects. And therefore people understand, why is this interesting? Well, because it serves a lot of interesting purposes that we have defined ourselves on this island. It's also a very beautiful island. It's a very natural, beautiful place, like many places in Europe. And I think the big concern of nature conservation is that conservation is that we don't want to disturb nature. But anyway, we put wind turbines up in the same nature. And I don't know if you can follow my arrow here. In the distance, you see smoke coming out of a chimney. And this is smoke from the nearest power station we have. And in the old days, when we started this 20 years ago, it was basically coal or gas. And there was a lot of fossil fuel burned to produce energy to the Danish grid. And there's two other power stations around Samsø because we are close to the sea. So they need the sea to cool their power production. And we use this argument to say that why don't we just put up some wind turbines so we can ventilate the smoke away from Samsø, which is probably an abstract version of it and not all true, but the image of this happening, that we put up wind turbines to prevent the smoke coming out of the chimneys, is actually a very strong metaphor for change. And people generally accepted that as we need to do things to keep the nature and environment healthy. And by putting up a few wind turbines, we can do that without harming the view or the perspective too much. A lot of people will disagree with that argument, but locally people have generally accepted this. We don't have opposition on Samsø for the same reason. An experiment doesn't have to be perfect. Experiments can open the way for something radically new. I think everybody knows that we need to change to make progress and development, and the future is different from what we have today. So therefore we have to accept changes. An experiment can be also a vision or a perspective of the future we share and we work with in local development areas like citizens organizations or businesses or municipalities and governments. If we share the experiment and say we need to do this and this to obtain sustainability, to sustain reduction of CO2 emission and so on and so forth, then people accept the changes also, because an experiment can also lead to something radically new, as said here. Common ground, different reasons. We have when we live in a place, we have common ground. We live in the same area. We have an interest in keeping this area healthy and strong and lively and serves the purpose of us. But we have many different reasons to believe that this is the case. So if I believe that it's good to be more sustainable, then I'm in opposition to be maybe a businessman who says that it has to be profitable. Profitable before sustainable. And I think I say the opposite, sustainable before profitable. But we have to sit around the same table, and I might ask this guy to invest in my future quest about sustainability. And if we can see a profit from that, then we agree with even if we have different reasons to be here. And this is where we create common ground. I think that's important, that we create an environment where the hippies and the business guys, they can sit together and formulate why we should change. So this is Samsø seen from Google. Small community, 30 kilometers long, and you may think it's like actually 2 communities. But seen from a perspective, it's a small little cozy community. We live in the center of Denmark, and Copenhagen is on the right-hand side, and Samsø, as you can see, is very central in Denmark, which we also believe that we live in the center of Denmark. This is seen from my perspective on my island with my citizens on Samsø. I think in Copenhagen, they believe that Copenhagen is the center of Denmark, which you can see it's not true. This is the European Union, and for some reason, Samsø is also the center of Europe. You might disagree, and that's okay, because I'm looking at it from a Samsø perspective, and this is Samsø on Earth, and Samsø is also the center of Earth, which is ridiculous, but on the other hand, also a little bit funny maybe, because I believe that you are always in the center of your own destiny, and you have to make the next smart move from your own center, because we have the Green Deal of the European Union, we have the UN development goals, we have a lot of overall global perspectives of change, but I think we need to boil it down to what can you do where you are, and what is your possibilities of being part of that process. And this is where the center of the universe is important for you, so you are aware of where you are, what your role is, and what you actually can do to commit to the overall goals. Power without love is coarse and ruthless. Love without power is sentimental. So this refers a little bit to what I said before. We need to invite business people into this equation so we can actually invest and finance the future, so people can work with things also seen from a business perspective. If it becomes too alien and too expensive to do it, then we'll go with normal solutions. We can see it right now with the gas prices after the Ukraine-Russian war and the conflict there. Gas prices has skyrocketed, and energy prices in Europe has skyrocketed. So we need to talk about business here also. We can't avoid it. This is changing the game totally. And right now, green energy is attractive again. It wasn't for a long time because Russian gas was too cheap and just flew into the European market and actually reduced the possibility of making a sustainable plan for Europe. And I think that was a pity. You need to invite your citizens also in this process. These are investors in the process. So we invite high and low, big and small into this equation. You can buy one share, many shares, or you can own the whole areas of development. But it's a cooperative movement where we invite people to take part in the process and become members of this also in a way where you understand what your role is, and you also understand the purpose of the things, because you can see that this is interesting for more than just yourself. And with this, we did a lot. These are just examples of development. The offshore wind project was groundbreaking because we never done anything engineering or entrepreneurial like this. This was a very big and very risky endeavor. And I think many of us didn't really believe we could do it. But when we then finally did it, it was very, very interesting to see how it actually made the society proud and growing, because we said, can we do this? We can do much more. It led to the profit of this led to kind of a total change of the municipality to change to electric vehicles and produce solar garages and power their own transportation, which is kind of looking into the future. The future of transportation and mobility must be electric or hydrogen or something else, but we need to test it. And this is, again, the experiments can lead the way to something radically new. Because now we have service people and secondhand electric cars running on Samsø, and people are generally very happy about the situation. And lately, we also provided a charging system where we have chargers all over the island, and it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have a focus on the future. So we would make this service for people so they don't feel afraid about driving an electric car. Where can I charge it? Where can I get my battery loaded? This is one of the concerns that we have solved. Transportation from islands is also basically ferries, and ferries are some of the biggest emission points of carbon dioxide. So we got a new built ferry sailing to the mainland, which is a hybrid gas electric ferry, and we are working on producing biogas and taking all the biological material into digestion and produce methane, so we can put it onto the ferry and actually virtually sail on our own waste, which is much better than sailing on diesel, which is the case in many areas in Europe also, that ferries are heavy emission points. A strong, sustainable, and robust community must share locality, activity, and mentality. And I think that is one of the lessons learned from us. Locality, activity is obvious, but mentality is that you understand the perspective of change. You understand the perspective of a vision for a greener future. And that creates kind of a mental feeling of ownership, that you understand and accept the changes because it makes sense. The activity is not alien to it, it's not strange and you don't like it, but the mentality part is working with people's understanding of why are we doing this, and then accepting all the questions here because it means a lot for people to be invited to participate. So we create kind of a vision for the future, a fire of ideas, a fireplace of inspiration and development, and we gather people around them to talk about why should we do this and who is going to be doing what, and then we share these visions and ideas, and the energy will be created in this circle, and in the middle of the circle you have the general perspective of things here also, and people start to take what you call responsibility and actions in the transition if you allow them to have this conversation and talk about the future. How we position the chairs determines the function of society. This slide is about organization. We have learned that we shouldn't invite too many experts into the equation. Whenever there's an expert, people become quiet and they listen to the expert and then they go home again. Because the expert's supposed to have a position in his position or her position, all the knowledge and information you need here. But maybe you can't use it because it's not applicable in your community. So we have to sit in ways where people feed in what they know, what they can offer, and how they can be responsible for this process. So the circle is kind of an energy for us. This is maybe a little bit constructed that we made people hold hands like we are the world for a little bit, but it is a symbol of the circle that is a stronghold for decision making in local communities. We use the same metaphor at the Energy Academy, which is the building you can see in the background, and this is where I'm speaking from today. The Energy Academy have 4,000 or 5,000 visitors every year from all over the world, and also from Samsø and from other local municipalities in Denmark, where they talk about the future and they try to define tools and instruments and work about for the future of sustainability. Thank you very much. This was my presentation from Samsø.
Thank you very much, Søren. The last presentation of the day is on how to integrate the energy community into the city planning by Ivana Mlinek from the city of Križevci in Croatia. Ivana is a senior expert associate for communal infrastructure and construction, and she also deals with the spatial planning and energy. Thank you, Ivana. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucia. Well, I would like to introduce some part of our city of Križevci, how we trying to integrate the energy community in our town. Some little things about Križevci. We have an area of 2,063.7 square kilometers, and we have 60 settlements, a little over 19,000 inhabitants. Half of the population is in the urban environment. We have an excellent geographic position, half an hour to the city, to the state capital, Zagreb. We have a favorable climate, abundance of water, and a fertile soil. Next, we have made an energy image of the city via our SECAP analysis. We, per year, according to the SECAP, produce 38,000 tons of CO2. Out of that, 54 emissions come from traffic, and 46 emissions come from the households and from the households. 25% of that is from the electricity, and 75 is from the heating. Next, we have numerous energy and climate policies. Of course, this is one of them is the Covenant of Mayors. Next, we have the Decarbonizing Charter, Creative Cities of Croatia. We also made a development plan of the city of Križevci from till 2030. We made, as I said, SECAP, the Energy and Climate Sustainable Development Action Plan, and of course the Sustainable Mobility Plan of the city of Križevci. We have also a cadastre of greenery and urban equipment of the town of Križevci, and the study and strategy for the development of green infrastructure of city of Križevci until 2027. We have successfully implemented in our new spatial plans. Of course, here is also the declaration of good energy. Next, we have a sentence from the development plan of the city of Križevci. We try to create an urban environment, but also green environment and sustainable management of national resources to create new values of local economy with their knowledge and skills, respect and preserve Križevci rich cultural and historical heritage. Now we have a new logo for the town. It's Križevci, your natural environment. So we are trying to make an urban environment also a very natural environment. We are happy to have the 60 settlements. We have a lots of space to do sustainable work in these parts of the Croatia. Next, what do we do here? We are trying to renovate energy renovations of public buildings. We are investigating the geothermal heating potential of our city. In the next slides, you will see that we have an borehole which has enough degrees to heat the one part or maybe even a few parts of the city, but we are only in the phase of investigating it, and we are on the way to make new boreholes to investigate it more further. And we are in the near future trying to make also, it's called Kosovo Breg, the new settlement in Križevci for the future, in who might hit only on the geothermal energy. On this slide, you can see some of our projects. Of course, the geothermal energy. We are trying to make new electric gas stations for our electric and hybrid cars. On the left above, you can see the energy renovations of public buildings, and of course the solar power plants we built in our crowdfunding campaigns. On the next slide, what is our goal? Well, as I said, to use locally available energy sources, renewable energy sources, and enable that the community benefits from it. Further, we next slide, please. We have had in our town 2 crowdfunding campaigns, and I can say they were very successful. First campaign lasted 10 days. We have 53 investors, and we are having those 2 solar power plants. The first was 45 megawatts per hour, and I would like to say it was a very successful campaign. The other one was lasted only 2 days, and we had 40 investors, and the power plant can produce 35 megawatts per hour. So in these two power plants, the main investors were citizens, and we are happy that we can say that it was very successful, because in our country it is only the power plants, the solar power plants are only beginning. So we are a bright example that via crowdfunding you can make a really big, for our point of view, power plants. So in the next slide, you can see that we are also, as a city, co-financing solar power plants on households. In 2020, we had only 2 and 5 beneficiaries for the project documentation and for the equipment. In 2021, it was a better situation. To sum up, we had 30 beneficiaries. And what in 2022? Well, we have a larger budget, and we also have enlarged it in the June, so last month. We are having 800,000 kunas. We saw that in this year we have only 43 beneficiaries only for the project documentation, and we are hoping to have at least 43 or even more beneficiaries for the equipment of the solar power plants. On the next slide, you can see that we also have opened the first laboratory of innovation for climate and energy in Pripyat and in Croatia. It was established in 2020. The idea of establishing that kind of office was from the few citizens who worked in several agencies and city, and they were trying to make a one-stop shop for all citizens that they can come and ask if they want to know about heating, about power plants, what can the city co-finance, and that is their mission, CLIC's mission, to create a sustainable and resilient local community on the path of energy transition and climate resilience. What are their goals? To become a catalyst for change in energy transition, to bring together a community of citizens ready for change towards creating a climate resilient community and the best possible city to work, live, and visit. That is also our city's mission, and to collaborate, of course, CLIC, citizens, and local authorities, and to meet common goals and benefits for the community. On the next slide, there are some facts about this office. It is stationed in a very frequent location of in the city. In the city ownership, it is near our city hall, and where we work. And there are also available workshops and help in applying for tenders, and they're really helping us, because here in the city we do not have a team to work on the energy efficiency and climate policies, but I am trying to do that, but we don't have really a team assembled, so this is a great help for us. On the next slide, you can see what I said about earlier, our plan of geothermal energy. We have a well, or better say borehole, that is 65 degrees, but that was an investigation from 2004, I believe, and now we have gained numerous financing from the national and European funds, and we are going to make at least 1 or 2 new boreholes, as I said. On the next slide, you can see the basic data on our geothermal source, and also we had a large project with Interreg Central Europe called Healing Places. There were included numerous of spas all across the Europe, and they helped us also to make some studies about this geothermal source. The geothermal source is planning to be heating for the surrounding buildings. Also, we are planning in our new settlement in Križevci to make it a greenhouse heating, and also in the future maybe to do some spa just in Križevci, because in Križevci we don't have a spa, we have in the surrounding cities and areas. So that would be a great tourism part also for Križevci. On the next slide, of course, also we are planning to do construction of intermodal terminal. At the moment, the city of Križevci lacks an appropriate public passenger and transportation system. So what is an intermodal terminal? An intermodal transport system is a technology that combines two modern and appropriate modes of transportation, with the majority of traffic moving by rail, inland waterways, or ocean shipping ships, with the initial and final road segment being as short as possible. So we want to, with our remodeling of the railway, of course, we want to do a new public transport and goods transport. Also, the location on the next slide, you can see also the location between the existing and the planned railway track. There is a space plan for the construction of photovoltaic power plant, which would probably be intended for the development of hydrogen production. We are planning to do also hydrogen production and combine two transport infrastructure system with off-green hydrogen production. Our mayor and our deputy mayor were in Germany, were in Slovenia, were in Netherlands, and in all these countries, the green hydrogen production is also beginning. So we are hoping to develop that and to be first in Croatia that is actually all functioning. How can I say that? So we would be very proud if this project will succeed. On the next slide, you can see plans also of establishment of sustainable public transport, electric buses and public bicycles. Public bicycles we have already, but electric buses is something that I think will be more troubling to develop, because it's hard to all these companies that already exist to just pass on the electric buses, but I hope that will also succeed. On the next slide, you can see that we are planning on construction of a large solar power plant with a total capacity of 6.7 megawatts. We are currently in the phase of creating the project documentation for that. We have co-financed that by national and European funds and EUCF. So we are hoping that this power plant is one of many in the future, but we have to start from somewhere. And on the next slide, I think that is all for today. I hope I have given you a little more picture of city of Križevci and how we are trying to make the citizens more collaborating with us, and to raise awareness, and to make our city one big energy community that will succeed in the European Green Plan, and to be climately neutral to 2030. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ivana. We are now opening a second round of questions and answers about the second question or any doubt that may arise of the webinar. Thank you, Maria Angela.
Yep, thank you both. Sorry, I was just trying to look up for the question because I think I lost myself a bit. Okay, yeah, I think I have. So thank you to both Soren and Ivana. Yes, thank you, Soren. So there is a question, so I think it's still related to the previous part of the webinar. So I will quickly answer to it. So whether organizations that want to apply to the technical assistance programs have to be common members. Well, of course, if you're applying to the technical assistance of the Covenant of Mayors, yes, you have to be a covenant member. I don't think the two initiatives are imposing the participation in the Covenant of Mayors. If I'm wrong, Eugenia and Elodie, please correct me. However, I do invite you to still join the community because in any case, we are developing strong synergies with both initiatives, and we will develop activities to capitalize on the opportunities and the experience that you can gain from these initiatives. We move now to the questions for this round. So I believe the first one is for Soren. So didn't you have problems with identifying the areas in which install all these renewable sources? Maybe also concerning national regulation or the use of private lands?
Well, I don't know if we said we had problems with it, but we had of course we had challenges in identifying areas, because we have one part in the north and one part in the south where we have like a very cultivated area with a lot of intense farming, but then we have a nature area in the middle. And of course, we protected all the nature interest in this also, like the Ramsar bird area is a no-go for installations. There's some of the landscape protected areas as no-go for installations. So we have to kind of align this with the intense farming, so we could put wind turbines in farmland where the surrounding villages would then be invited to co-invest in the process. So the farmers would lease out their land, maybe own one of three or two or three turbines, but then we always ensured that at least one turbine would be offered as a cooperative owned wind turbine for this, the community that was kind of able to see the turbines. And therefore, we also, with that instrument, we defined where to put the installations. That was exactly where there was an interest in participation in this also. So we didn't just find and allocate lands, but we talked to people about the commitment and participation in it. And where there was the most commitment, we put the turbines, because that we could see there was a consensus here that this was possible. And it didn't take a long time. With less than 1 year of planning, we identified this also. And then in year 2, we started building the turbines. Today it can take up to 5 years to do that. And it is a long process. But because we focused on the problems before we came up with the solutions, I think we shortcut it or short past the vital problems there.
Right. So the next question is again for you, Soren. How can the energy community's role be identified in the prosumers context and SAMSO? How do the community participate?
So what we did, we offered consultancy to private householders, to villages, and say we could come out and do a study, a survey of every individual house to make kind of an energy balance or an energy audit. So people could see, this is my present economy seen from an energy perspective. And in the future, if you insulate your house better, improve the windows and the frame of the house, and you install a sustainable energy production or become member of a district heating or something else, then your economy will look like this in 10 years. So year by year, people could see and have the numbers in front of them to make the decision about the participation, that this was a better offer than just to stay on fossil fuels or the existing structure. Because we knew that the what you call the convincing argument was not idealistic. It was not to save the planet, but it was like to save some money. And if people could do that, I think that was a very convincing argument for the transition to sustainability. I think we were very realistic about that and pragmatic in the attitude to understand that maybe 80% of people are in that position. They want to look at their household economy, and if it's improving the economy, then they are on board.
Thank you. Again, so did you integrate the DSO in the Highland project? Is it included in your national regulation as an energy community? Yes,
we did. The DSO was very engaged in the process also because they are administrating the loads. So we are part of the public grid. We are not disconnected. This is also why we can have a surplus production. We can actually export energy out of the island to the mainland. And therefore we have a kind of another project. We produce a lot of potatoes and we have a lot of tourism. So we have export import of interesting businesses. And now one of the interesting businesses is to sell electricity to the mainland grid. And therefore we need to be in close cooperation with the DSO who can administrate the loads. And they are by Danish energy law obliged to buy energy from sustainable energy production. And so, but we need to make local arrangements with this also. And they have been very, what do you call it, proactive in this process because they want to serve green energy to their customers. So they are happy to have us as producers of energy in their system.
Thank you. Now a question for both Soren and Ivana. So what piece of advice would you give to a sustainable energy community on how to inspire people to invest in community-owned energy generation projects? Perhaps Ivana, you want to go first?
Yes, well, I think that the best way to inspire people to invest in energy community is to tell them that everything depends on us to make our future more, how can I say, brighter. Because if we invest today, it will maybe not come to us in a year or two, but in 10 years, the investment will come back. So for us in Križevci, the main thing is households, because very many households are still heating on wood. So we are trying to change that. And I think the best way is to from the city, that we can co-finance them something, and there are many people here who don't have the money to invest in new heating systems because they have only an but they are paying their bills in the first of the month. So what I want to say is to we can help people to make new investments, to be more energy efficient, and to all prosper in the future, because we leave this all to our children, our grandchildren, and if we don't think now, maybe later it will be too late.
I agree with Ivana, so I don't have much else to say. I think what we have learned is that we offer all these possibilities to people by being kind of the project secretary and presenting options and possibilities to people, so they can see what is in the scope of development, so they can understand where can I be active and where can I be proactive. I think what we have learned is also that it takes a lot of conversation, and we have to go out and meet people in their own environment and talk to them about what's going on here, and kind of listen to them and understand what are they thinking about, what is maybe more interesting, what are they worried about in the future. It can be a local community where the municipality is maybe thinking about closing the school or the services or the hospital to save money because they have built a more big regional hospital or a central school. And the local community will then say, that's not so good. We'd like to keep our services alive here. Maybe in the transition, we can use the instruments to make money to provide enough facilities or capacity to maintain the existing structure, and use the energy transition to finance the existing structure, and thereby create a strong local commitment to this also. And we only understand this if we are there and if we talk to people and listen to what they are concerned about. And I think that is one big driver also, apart from all the other things that's already been said.
Thank you both. We have one last question on the chat about Palestinian cities. So for what concerns the Covenant of Mayors Europe program, no, our call is open only to the countries that we manage in our secretariat, so European Union member states and EFTA countries. I believe it's more or less the same answer for the Energy Community Repository and the Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub, but of course I leave Elodie and Eugenia to answer on that. So if Elodie and Eugenia, you can just confirm whether Palestinian cities are eligible or not.
Palestinian.
Yeah.
Is it a EU associated? Is it an associated country under HND20 or is it Europe? Not 100% sure. So we are considering now, together with DGNR, we are trying to see if we can accommodate associated countries, but it's the ones that are under Horizon Europe. So I'm not 100% sure of the list of countries, but I don't think Palestine is an associated country so far.
Yes, hi, I'm Brigitte. I work with Eugenia at the Rural Advisory Hub, but she had to leave, so I'm stepping in. I hope you don't mind. I can confirm that Palestine won't be eligible for the Rural Advisory Hub because we focus specifically on European member states.
Thank you both. I cannot see any other question in the chat. I know many of you asked for slides and contacts. I believe every presentation included at the very end at least one email address to reach out, and we will send a follow-up email with the slide and the recording so you can take the contact details from the slides. And if you have any questions, we still have 15 minutes left in our meeting, so please write them in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and speak. Okay, I don't see anything. So from my side, just out of curiosity to, well, Ivana, because I know Soren has this Samsung Energy Academy, so they are the expert in the highland, but Ivana, it's well known that municipalities, especially small municipalities, have huge difficulties in finding the right expertise or even persons to allocate to such huge projects. So how did you manage to bridge this gap?
Well, we have a few people here, me and two other girls, that were working on this position. They are on maternity leave now, but they are also included still in the project. We are managing somehow, and CLIC, the office, the Energy Climate Office, is helping us a lot, but they are also only girls, and they are also 2 out of 3 on maternity leave. So it's, you know, a baby boom here. But that is okay because we're a rather small country. So we have experts, but we cannot reach them because, you know, we can employ them in our systematization here. It's not, you know, the energy efficiency is on the bottom of the list. So we cannot employ more workers. So we are, you know, we are mainly on the volunteering part focused, and we are happy to have many citizens that work in Zagreb, in our state capital, who are willing to come here and to collaborate with us on these topics. So it is you know, a way to manage that, but I'm afraid my own college called environmental engineering, I have many colleagues that are not working in their fields of where they should be working, and that's also a problem here because in Croatia we are only starting to aware us of that energy and climate problems are real, and that we are need to resolve them because it will be too late, as I said earlier. So I don't know, we are managing somehow in these fields. Yes.
Yeah, congratulations, and of course, congratulations to your colleagues. Just as follow-up questions, because you mentioned a lot of projects that you're carrying out in the municipality. What kind of funds are you using? I mean, are you using like direct funds, national funds?
We are using funds from the cohesion fund. From Europe, we are using national funds. We are using the funds, as I said, from Interreg. We are, of course, we have our city budget that is rather big for our country. So we are using all the available funds. We have a fund for protection of the environment here in Croatia that has numerous calls for the project documentation, for the energy renovations, and we have received last month from the Norwegian fund amount of 1.6 million euros for the power plants on our public buildings to install. So we are using all funds possible in this time.
Thank you. This is just also to give some tips on the participants on how to finance energy communities and the activities. So Soren, also the questions to you. How did you manage? What kind of funds did you use to develop all the projects in Samsur?
It's a little bit the same story that we are looking around. It's like what do you call it, a carpet of many different sources we finance things here. So we're looking at European funding. We're trying to follow the frameworks and see where we can fit in and do some interesting work. Because we have a good name, then we are quite often invited as a partner in processes here also. So we kind of get on to European projects quite easily. Where if we had to run them down ourselves and write the proposal, it would be a much bigger job. So it's kind of good to have what you call a relation and a strong network where people can see you and think you are interesting and then invite you to participate in some of the frameworks and European projects. We are also on the national financial budget until two years more, and so we have to negotiate again. And this goes for many things that we have to negotiate in short terms, like it's 1 year through 2 years, up to 3-4 years. Sometimes we get from private funds and development funds, and then I mean I think 1/3 of our project economy is consultancy that we work for companies, for municipalities and others. We are going to make a climate audit for 19 municipalities in central Denmark region, and that's a 2-year job, almost 2 full-time employees doing that. So it's also quite labor demanding that we have to have a lot of hours in many of the things that we do here. And the spin-off is that we then can co-finance other partners in the process. We are currently 4 full-time employees in the academy. But then we have on the side, we have some external people like Alexis in Liverpool, and we have a person in Japan who was working for us there, which is a little bit strange, but we have been working with them for many years also. So network again. I mean, this is where we get access to funds and support.
Thanks a lot. Meanwhile, I noticed that Haloti listed the associated countries. Thank you, Haloti.
I'm not saying we are gonna open to all these countries, but this is a discussion we're having.
Okay, thank you a lot. I don't see questions again. Last chance to ask any if you have. Otherwise, I will pass the floor to Lucia to conclude the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now.